Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 403 for February 10th, 2021. My name is Russell Frost and I have the good fortune to hit my mic like a little kitty cat who's obsessed with something. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Sorry if you're wearing headphones.
And I'm wearing headphones. Hey everybody, I'm really glad to be here and look at this amazing panel. Let's introduce them and get this show on the road. My friend in Illinois and co-host of What Drives Us, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey everybody, welcome to 403. I am already working through a beer and hoping everyone to remind everyone to support local, drink local, shop local, and tip well.
Tip your delivery person well, says the self-interested host. And speaking of hosts, the other co-host of What Drives Us, she is a multi-talented person, and our friend in Northern California, Georgia McKenzie.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I too am doing bobbly things just like Russell, and I hope you're all well. Let's move on.
I hope, we all hope everybody out there is doing well. Speaking of doing well, he is very proud of his new bottle of Tesla tequila. Our friend at the Mid-Atlantic region, Mr. Casey Green.
Right there on the middle shelf.
Nice.
It's in the back.
Yes.
You're supposed to say top shelf.
It's on the top shelf, actually.
It's not top shelf.
It is top shelf tequila. Absolutely. That price tag? Hell's
That
yeah.
price tag, yes. The snow just stopped, but it's supposed to start again tonight. So, yeah.
Snow.
Oh, really? We're going
Snow.
to talk snow?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and the Musket Co. was kind enough to give me back-to-back software updates.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
extra work. Not that
Well-
I'm complaining.
Speaking of snow, he is our friend in the Great White North, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
It'll be snow here until June. That's what it feels like in the middle of February. It feels like there'll be snow here forever. But,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the way it goes.
Well,
That's
we
why
can-
they call it the Great White North. So
Yeah.
what can you do?
No,
I mean,
we can keep the global warming going.
yeah, there's that. You
I
could
can run up
move
to the back and try to start that lawnmower again.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
because why the
Canadians
heck
for
not?
global warming. Show title.
There it is. Canadians for yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. And while I finish writing that down, let's introduce our friend who's the founder and owner and operator of Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, glad to be back and let's get on with the show.
There we go. Thank you so much, Paul. And last and certainly not least, our friend somewhere on the West Coast, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Yes.
Where it's exceptionally sunny.
Yeah, it was sunny today, but this is normally the part of the show where I say I'm coming to you with sunlight that we stored in a box earlier today. But tonight I'm not. Why? Because it just went into Stormwatch mode.
Oh.
And when we have Tesla Powerwalls. Stormwatch is when they think there's a chance of the next 24 hours that you could lose power. And we are expecting a winter storm here. So snow for the next 3 days, although today was nice and sunny. So we don't get to use our solar energy right now tonight because we're keeping it just in case we'll lose power.
There we go.
All right.
Well, hopefully you won't, but nice that your choice of power storage is thinking ahead for you.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping we lose
It's
power.
great to have those
I just want
options.
to. I want to see like our lights on and everyone else is out.
You are that asshole, aren't you? You're,
I just
you're
want to test the system a little.
we used to, when we were selling power walls back in the olden days, that was the thing is like, imagine how cool it would be to be drinking beer and watching TV while your neighbors are all dark and people's eyes would literally, like, you could see them. Oh, people love one-upping their neighbors in these uppity neighborhoods here in Southern California. Yeah, they just
Guilty.
There's a Twilight Zone. The monsters are due on Maple Street.
there you
Look
go.
it up. It's
Yeah.
really
Great
It's
episode.
really good study in human behavior.
Yes.
There's a blackout in town except for one house.
Uh-oh.
And you see the arguments people are having about how come they have lights and we don't, and it's just, and then at the very end it turns out that there's a Twilight Zone twist at the end that I'm not going to ruin, but
Don't.
you should watch it. It's a really good Twilight Zone episode, and Patrick, you will be living that episode.
There,
Yes,
there-
I've seen that one. It is a good one, and humans are the real monsters. One of my Session 9 is one of my favorite horror movies, and the other one is Cabin Fever, where it's a virus going through and how people just turn on each other. It's but we're the real monsters, that's for sure.
Yeah.
well, on that
Yeah.
happy note, let's go to a happy story. Let's go to Tony for a happy story.
Oh, it's, you know what? It's a happy, believe it when I see it story.
Oh, so
Those
it's
are the
not happy?
best.
Next story.
It-
Okay.
It's hopefully going to be happy. So on Wednesday, which was today, Toyota announced that they are going to bring 2 fully electric vehicles to North America.
Woohoo.
Now, we know that they've had electric vehicles in Japan for a while, but Toyota has repeatedly said, we're only going to do it once we have solid state batteries. And they've been hemming and hawing and back and forth, and hydrogen's the future. And Akio Toyota said that EVs create more greenhouse gases than internal combustion engines. Who knows what the hell these people are smoking from day to day. Today, they said we're bringing 2 battery electric vehicles to North America, and they're planning on doing it this year in 2021. Although they still didn't stick to a timeline. So basically what they've promised to do is announce 2 electric vehicles. I know, right? But what they said was, I think it was 2 electric vehicles and a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So we know they already have the Prius Prime and the RAV4 Prime. They said they're going to announce that they're going to have another in the Prime lineup. And do keep in mind that there is already talk about a Subaru electric vehicle. That would be a joint venture, of course, with Toyota. So there's a chance that one of these Toyota electric vehicles, should they come to market, would be something very similar to the Subaru, a sort of an electric crossover. But you know, back in 2019, they did this whole, we're bringing, you know, electrification, and what was it, by 2030, they said there was going to be, looking for the numbers here, 40% by 2025, 70% by 2030. You know, they gotta put their money where their mouth is. They've got to decide what it is they're actually going to do and then actually do it. But I would like to believe that if Toyota actually put their might behind bringing full electric vehicles to North America, they would do a kick-ass job. I just wish they would actually get off their ass and toe a line and just do it. So it is with cautious optimism that I have this news. So guys, Georgia, when I said guys, I realized that Georgia, I don't know if you would mind.
You respond to guys.
Yeah.
So over his Christmas chicken, Christmas KFC chicken, Mr. Toyota will announce from the dinner table that they are going to give us 11 solid state powered sedans, like individual serial number 11. You're done, because you know they make them by hand, and he'll fulfill his promise.
You mean we're not going to hear anything until like December?
Yes, because for some reason in Japan, KFC Christmas chicken is a huge deal, and
Okay.
and that's when he'll tell us. That's my
Because
write that
it's
in the
close
Excel
to the
sheet.
end of the year and meets the criteria for what they promised they'd commit. Yeah,
Those-
I'm worried that that there's been a series of half-hearted efforts, or what is the phrase when they come out with just the minimum to meet some government
Lions
regulations?
cars.
Lions cars,
Yeah,
yes.
compliance.
So yeah, they'll be doing enough to get some ZEV credits, so they don't have to buy them from somebody else, but they will not be promoting them. They will not be selling them in any mass quantity. That's what I'm worried about.
So
This
additional
is the
batteries or
company
solid
that brought
state?
us exactly 5,000 RAV4 primes.
Yeah, the bare minimum.
5,000. Yeah.
So
Which is crazy
Patrick,
because if they made 50,000, they'd sell them all.
oh yeah,
Exactly.
and there'd be parts. So Patrick, do you think they'll do it with the solid state or with the traditional batteries?
So I don't expect to see anything with solid state batteries on the road until 2025, but they might pull a rabbit out of the hat and surprise us all.
Definitely not Toyota's central theme is pulling rabbits out of hats. They're much
typically.
more of the, hey, here's an old rabbit that we know is really damn reliable. It's kind of ugly, but we're going to put it in your car anyway.
Yes. They're more Blue Origin than SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And you know,
I will say though, the 2002 RAV EV that Toyota did, which was kind of a compliance car, was a damn well-built car. Much
Yes.
better
Yeah.
than the Tesla RAV4 that they partnered with, as far as reliability.
Yeah, the original, the old white one, the Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah.
one, I always
The old-
associate. Yeah.
Lighter
Nickel
brown.
metal hydride.
Junior one?
funny you
Yeah.
mentioned the Tesla RAV. I just ran into one of those on the road the other day, and I don't mean physically ran into. I saw them and paralleled, and I was like, you just don't see that many of those Tesla
Yeah,
RAVs.
And did you stop and tell the guy to sell it real fast before it breaks? They all break.
All of my experience of that car was nothing but fun. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to buy it and maintain it, and when I got to drive it, it was a real blast.
So Paul, is that just because it was a compliance car, or was it a compliance car combined with the fact that these two corporate cultures didn't
It was-
get together very long?
All of the above. It wasn't properly debugged. They're all breaking now. And if you go to Tesla, they go, well, it's a Toyota. Go to
Yeah.
Toyota. And you go to Toyota, they go, well, it's Tesla powered. Go to, and the customer's like,
Oh man.
Somebody
that's bad as
step up.
Yeah. Now,
So
Tony,
everybody
I
who-
wanted
bought one that loved it kind of regrets it now, unfortunately.
to clarify in the article you mentioned. You said 2 cars, right? Not 2 models.
So it could be the same
So
car with a
that
different
may be
name.
the solution right there. You're going to get 2
They're
cars.
making
Well,
two
hold on.
cars.
It said 2 electric vehicles.
Yeah.
They could
Zero
make
number
like
1 and 2.
Oh.
a line
So they're going to
scooter
put
and
a
that
Bolt
wheelchair
on the
thingy they
stage
have.
and a
That's
Tesla.
electric.
Yes.
What do you guys think
taking-
of the platform? E-Tanga?
The ET&GA.
TNGA is what everything's built on these days.
Yeah, it's Toyota's
The
next
skateboard.
generation architecture. That's what the Prius and some others are built on, and then they came out with a variant for their electric vehicles yet to be seen.
But Georgia, I don't know. I'm not sure what your intent in bringing that up was. Brings up something that is interesting in that Toyota can easily flip the script and stop putting ICEs into cars and start making battery electric vehicles. They're set. They're ready to go.
want
They're
to.
just choosing not to.
Yeah.
That is the frustration.
Absolutely.
We've talked about these manufacturers who are falling behind every week more and more. If not in market share, then at least in awareness of purchasers.
Yeah.
And when we actually do see a company that could, like you said, flip the switch as easily as we feel that Toyota could do it, and yet they are hesitant to do it, that is just absolute frustration. Why don't you just freaking do it?
Yeah.
When you consider that everybody knows the Prius.
Yeah.
They basically had such a big jump on everyone, and I don't know, this feels so underwhelming.
Yeah.
Right.
The California Camry could have been an actual Camry instead of a Model 3.
Right. A lot of us got into the whole alt car thing through Prius, and
yeah.
we're very loyal to that Toyota brand and Prius vehicles. And if they would have kept advancing that technology and had plug-in hybrid versions available sooner, and then had full electric versions available now, or I think they could have kept a lot of people that instead abandoned the brand and went to Tesla.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
A lot of
seriously,
former Prius owners bought Model 3s.
Yeah.
it's just weirdly conservative for such a big jump in technology that they abandoned the field to some new upstart, and it just feels weird.
Yeah.
And they sold them a factory for like 10 cents.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sold the stock early.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but definitely made a ton of money.
They
on
made a
it.
profit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Early is the benefit of
They could have
hindsight.
made many tons of money.
Right. Many
Yeah.
they could have, but come on. I mean, Patrick, what's the rule? Double your money, get rid of half.
Yeah, exactly. You don't sell it all.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they made their nut.
They did.
They said, okay, we're cashing in. That's classic Toyota conservatism.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at that point, Tesla was a huge risk, and they're not a company that takes huge risks.
Yeah. Not
any.
not when they're ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
It matches with their culture. I totally agree.
But to give up a factory in California in Silicon Valley, that was
Well, they
crazy.
didn't want that factory. They had to share it with GM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it was,
Yeah. I don't know
even
that
after
Toyota
GM
fulfilled it.
even
Yeah.
after GM left, it had union employees. It was the only Toyota factory that had union employees. And that was because it started as this joint NUMMI factory.
Right.
And so selling it got rid of that problem for them.
Mm-hmm. And they're not a big fan of unions like most car companies.
Yeah.
Even though most of the American car companies, however we define that make cars in the United States, have to live with unions. Unless they have factories in Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina.
Canada.
There's a theme there. I'll leave it to you, the viewer, to divine what that theme is. And speaking of divining the theme, a somewhat related article from our
Yes.
friend Patrick Connor from his carswithcords.net site.
Right. Yeah. So Russell and I were arguing on Twitter, as we often do, and about how long can these legacy car companies last if they don't make the changeover. And a company like Toyota has plenty of cash in the bank, and that allows them the benefit of coming late to the party after they know for sure it's going to be a great party. They can arrive fashionably late. But how late is too late? So Bloomberg has said that they expect the crossover point to happen this decade, where electric cars will be cheaper at their initial price point than similar gas powered cars. And then you combine that with the lower running costs and just better performance, quieter rides, and the transition is going to happen, and it's just a question of when. And the writing's on the wall, and the car companies that don't see that writing on the wall and don't respond to it are going to be hurting. They're going to follow the same path as Blockbuster and Kodak, to just ignoring something until it's too late and then they can't recover. So I go through Toyota. Their biggest problem is what we just talked about. Their leadership, Akio Toyoda, is spreading misinformation about EVs, talking about how the long tail means that they actually make more pollution. And they've had ad campaigns where they talk about unless you have 4 hours to kill, you don't want an EV because that takes that long to charge up, and just other misinformation and FUD that they've spread. Now, are they doing this sort of to anti-Osborne, meaning they don't have that product yet, so they're going to downplay it? But that doesn't mean they're not working on it in the background, and we gave some examples. Or do they really just have this attitude and it's going to be the death of them? I'm not sure which it is, but either way, it's not a good look for them to be bashing EVs. They could instead just say that's not a product that we currently have. We're continuing to work on it and investigate it, and leave it at that instead of bad mouthing. And then the other part of this article that I have here is from Volkswagen, looking at Volkswagen. It's very different. If you look at Herbert Diess, he's talking about how EVs the future. They want to do the ID4 and bring that out and make it a global car. They have the ID3 in certain markets. ID4 is going to be even bigger. But he's running into all kinds of problems within the company. There are directors and vice presidents that are in charge of, transmissions or emissions or whatever else it is, that they don't have a place in the new world of EVs. And so they're fighting it. And also, if you have some employee that's worked there their whole life and now you're telling them, oh, you know, all that stuff you did, that just made pollution and we're going to move on to something else, they might be upset that this is just some EV fad and you're going to destroy the whole company. And so there's backlash. They have unions. We just talked about unions. So if they have to lay off 20% of their workforce because they don't have as many components that go into an EV, the unions are going to fight them. So Deese has got a huge uphill fight. And in fact, he had to call for the board of directors to either a vote of confidence in his leadership, because he was getting so much pushback within the company that he said, look, I can't do my job. You need to either extend my contract and tell me that I can make huge cuts and get the things done I need to, or cut me loose. And so it's sort of the opposite. We're here. The leadership has the vision, but the company has a culture, and strategy is pointless if you don't have a culture behind it that can back it up. And what they have is this 80-plus-year-old company that has a culture that is radically different. So I'm questioning both of these companies and looking at, can they live through this transition? I contrast this with Microsoft. So Microsoft has had to reinvent themselves multiple times. When the internet came out, they had just finished Windows 95. Bill Gates wrote his letter to the company saying, this is something we're going to embrace, and I'm not going to make an internet group. Every one of our products needs to be internet capable, and it's going to permeate our entire culture. And then they had the same thing with Xbox. That was a completely different thing for their company. They embraced it. They are doing it now with their data centers. Azure is become a massive part of their company and their revenue. They could have just stayed as a small little company that did Office and operating systems and just declined over time. And that's sort of what the car companies are doing. And when you have leadership trying to inject this new thing, the company culture is acting like antibodies and trying to reject it. Anyway, that's my article.
And they don't
think,
have to. I mean, they make
Dieter,
millions.
what's his name, should rename the company to Volkswagen.
Yes.
They don't have to be this conservative. They make millions of cars a year, and if they were to survive this transition, they will do it faster than any of these new upstarts because they've already got the experience, the expertise, and the facilities, and of course the workforce. They won't need the whole
But
workforce.
you got 20% of the people there, Casey, even upper management, that feels that there's no position for them going forward. So they're going to fight like hell, because they've been there for their entire career, and now you're telling them there's no use for you or your transmissions anymore, or your engineering to put transmissions in cars. It's just not required. So what do they do?
They're gonna do the wrong thing. But the Porsche Taycan and the Audi whatever just came out, they have transmissions. I mean, literally, it's just a matter of finding a way to put your skills to use. But that's hard work. It's rather than, you don't just come in and punch the clock to do that. You gotta work at it. And like you said,
Patrick, this is a very well written article, by the way. Yeah. I mean, I did read the whole thing. Everyone, go to carswithcords.net and you'll find this article, February 9th. Yes, and very good points, all the way through it. And like we were just talking, if your job was, fuel pumps, and you made the best damn fuel pumps on the market, and your company just decided, oh, by the way, we're not pumping gasoline any longer. Okay, sorry. If you made oil filters and you made the best damn oil filters in the industry, and your company is going electric, sorry. I mean, and the fact that you spell out, so many different things in here. I mean, you really do a good job of not just addressing a few things, but looking at the broader picture. I thought this was really good, and it reminded me of a poster that was in one of the collaboration cubes for one of our software development teams, my company. It was actually a Deming quote that said, adaptation is not required. Survival is optional.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right,
Adapt or
everybody drink.
die.
I'm going to say something there. So even our friends at Tesla have had to fight this corporate inertia. Like Elon at the battery day, he pointed out that why did their cars still have battery modules, even though they don't need them anymore? Because they had a module team. And all they do is they make modules. So you went from having 16 modules per car to just 4 really big ones that weren't really necessary to be arranged as modules. And so even the nimble upstart has inertia that they need to fight and constantly deal with. Don't do it the old Microsoft way with the freaking stacked ranking where you fire 10% of the company every year. That's just useless. But just, look inside and fix it.
Yeah, what is it, Patrick? You said in here, what was it? Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah, that's not my quote. Yeah, that's
Okay, it's
yeah.
not your quote. Yeah, I realize it's not your quote, but
It's in
you
there.
quote someone saying
Yes,
that, and
I did. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's exactly that. You look at an 85-year-old company and tell everyone, we're going to shift, and that's really hard.
I mean, it's a pretty bad part of human nature because if we look back, let's look at coal country right now. On the regular, that it's a dying industry. It doesn't matter what you're doing, it's just a dying industry. And it's bad for you. Yet, it has been ridiculously hard to convert people out of the idea that coal is a right for them to have a job in.
Mhm.
And every time, I mean, I am not one of those types of people who views everything as, well, we'll train them how to program software. Look, we have a glut.
You do that,
Wait,
yeah.
just stop that. And
Right.
the jobs may not be moving to that area. It might now, because now suddenly people have woken up to the fact that remote work is possible to have and have a functioning society. But the problem isn't just training for new tech and trying to get them all to be programmers. The problem is dropping the mindset that not only am I going to work in coal, it is my God given right to work digging coal out of a mountain, no matter how it affects my community, how it affects my health, the dangers, or anything else. And if you tell me that I need to pursue another path, I'm not just going to take it as something like, well, but I really like being here underground digging out coal. I'm going to take it as an affront to my very existence and a personal insult to myself, my family, my way of life, and my religion. And it's like, dudes, this is not going to work as a sustainable future. And you bring up excellent points in this article, Patrick, because it is not just the manufacturers of the cars. There is an entire supply chain model of jobs and industries that hinge on combustible engines. And that preservation of that culture, that is why change is so hard to have happen. Because it's not just that you get rid of an electric car you don't have to fuel up at the pump, but then there is the processing of oil and gas, and there's the filter changes and the need for oil for that, and there's how mechanics do their work. There is a massive supply chain that has to be moved, and moved over quickly, to function with more electronic cars on the market, to service those cars, to reformat themselves to what those cars will now need, and phase sometimes themselves and jobs out and find other places to be in. And we are, as a species, I'm not going to say it's Americans because it's everyone, as a species, we are heels in, digging in, resistant to change, even in the face of that change killing us on the regular. And that's something, it's one of those, I don't know how that can be fixed. And I think that there's excellent points in this article. So I definitely hope people read it and review it.
On that, Georgia, I read an article earlier this week about charity pledges, actually, and yes, this ties back. But the study was an individual's ability to weigh the bigger picture against an individual impact. And what the study was talking about donating money to help a village or a country in Africa versus showing the picture of a starving child and saying that for the same amount of money, you can help feed this starving child. What they found was people are more likely to donate money when you highlight one person versus the big effect. Now, why I'm tying that in is we talk about save the world. We talk about save the rainforests. We talk about don't melt the ice caps. And then you have a few people who stand up and say, you just cost me my job. And people are more likely to listen to that one person complaining about their job than they are to worry about the fact that we're rapidly exceeding CO2 levels in the atmosphere that just might be unreturnable. But as long as that one person keeps their job, everyone feels good at the end of the day.
I call that the asshole effect, that you have to, and I don't mean that in a bad way, in the sense that we don't frame things. We like to frame things in a big, grand scale, altruistic thing, but the problem is that very small portions of the community can actually conceive of and feel enough empathy on that scale to be motivated to do something. And you have to build in a message that reflects the fact that most people are assholes, and you have to talk from the asshole range. And that is intensely personal, and it's got to show a personal benefit, and you have to really hit where their needs are in order for them to absorb your message, react positively to it, and then take the steps that could lead to change. And that's not something I think a lot of people want to say, because you don't want to be the one sitting there going, well, you haven't calculated for the amount of assholes that need to adopt this this policy.
Right.
Hey, thanks for all the nice words. I was just happy with the phrase iceberg, and I just thought that was clever. That came up in the discussion with Russell, and it's totally clickbait, and that's one of the things we do here. Thanks, everybody.
There you go. Well, thank you for a stimulating article, Patrick. And do go to carswithcords.net and check it out and tell us what you think, good or bad. Let's go to Mark Coughlin for This Week in Tesla.
This Week in Tesla just never stops. There's always something going
Ever.
on. And I haven't even got enough time to go through it all. So we're just going to pick a few topics here. One of them is Unplugged Performance, who you may remember last year modified a Tesla Model 3 to run Pikes Peak in a race. They unfortunately ran one race fine. The second race they kind of went off road and destroyed the car, and they had to rebuild it over 20 or 48 hours. They got back in the race and they didn't do quite as well because, of course, the driver and whoever was probably a little bit shook up from the crash on the second race. But they did get it in and do that. But the story this week is letting you know that Unplugged Performance has got another Model 3, and they will be participating in Pikes Peak 2021. So we'll watch and see if they can break the course record this year. Secondly, it was revealed that the Gigafactory Berlin is, of course, receiving Giga presses, they call them, in order to make those massive die casts that they're using to put together the front and the back of the Model Y. But what was revealed today is that they're going to have 8 of them in operations. So there's been some talk about how Fremont factory has 2 of them. Berlin has gone all in. They're going to have 8. And there's a math equation talking about how many cars can actually be made with 8 of these gigapresses in operation. And the number that it puts out is crazy high. Like we're talking 2.5 million vehicles over a year with all the gigapresses combined. So Tesla could be possibly sandbagging their numbers about what they're going to make next year, because that number is sitting around 900,000. So we don't. This is speculation, but it is interesting that Berlin will have 8 of these presses, and they are being put in place as we speak.
You get a Tesla. So, you get a Tesla. You get a Tesla.
Also, Tesla, in the world of finance, decided in their wisdom to actually invest in Bitcoin this week. They bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Allegedly.
And no,
they have,
not allegedly.
They had to
did
file
it.
this paperwork. They can't cheat and lie. Come on.
I had to file the paperwork when
So
I bought 1.5
They
billion
filed the
dollars in
paperwork on a
Bitcoin.
cryptocurrency that can't really be traced, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, you can't totally trace it if they put their address in there.
If they did, right? But
They get in trouble for lying to the investors, though.
there have been some journalists
Could be Dogecoin.
trying to track this down and have not yet been able to track it down. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
So it's
Drink.
interesting that they've taken this move. As Patrick had mentioned at the Tesla Life, we talked a little bit more in depth about what were the reasons behind this. What were the contributing factors for them to do this? They're even indicating that they may be taking some Bitcoin for payment on their vehicles over the future. So I don't know. It's a strange, I guess, a strange set of events that have got them into this. It is indicated that this could be for strictly financial investment abilities, that they could put money away into something that is definitely been appreciating in value. Bitcoin, if you don't know, is a cryptocurrency stock that has gone up and down wildly over its life. In fact, in the past 2.5 years, it's gone from $3,000 for one Bitcoin to $44,000 today. So there's been ups and downs all the way through it, but it's an interesting piece of information that Tesla is now involved with Bitcoin, and of course that certainly affected Bitcoin's price, and the market certainly took it in a positive way. So
It did?
absolutely it did.
Mhm.
So having someone, and of course Tesla's not the first that's invested in this. There are other companies that have done it as well. But not any of them, of course, with the notoriety that Tesla has, because, of course, they're the huge story wherever they go. But interesting anyways. And our final story to touch upon, which is really exciting, is that Germany has just approved level 4 autonomy on certain regions within the country. So what they're doing is they're going to allow automakers to run level 4. Of course, there's going to be oversight, and they're getting reports on how it's going and things of that nature. But level 4 autonomy is just one below the final level of level 5. And as Patrick had mentioned, a level 4 difference between that and level 5 is basically that it may not be able to run in all weather conditions. There may be something like sleet and snow that would prevent it from running in that type of scenario. And I'm sorry, Patrick, I forgot the other item. What was the other item?
Location.
Location.
Location. So yeah, you can restrict the domain to locations or weather conditions or daytime or nighttime. Level 4 is like the perfect thing for a tram from the long-term parking to a airport, right? It only runs in that domain. Yeah, there's lots of great uses for level 4.
So of course,
to operate on paved roads.
Yeah. So this of course is great for Tesla, because of course they're moving in that way anyways, with their full self-driving beta currently, that they're looking to expand. And of course, this is one of the jurisdictions, one of the countries that are going to allow them to test their wares on roads once they get to that fully automated level that they're comfortable with. So it's interesting that Germany, a large, obviously a large country, a country that is well immersed in automotive culture, that they've decided that yes, autonomy is going to be something that we're going to have to embrace, and they're one of the early ones out of the gate to start to embrace it, so that they're ahead of the curve. So it'll be interesting to see what other countries follow Germany's lead.
150 miles an hour down the Autobahn.
Oh, that's California.
But the great thing about this, of course, is that it's going to bring that Saturday Night Live skit to life from the 90s, of course, Toons is the cat, will be able to drive its car autonomously down the road.
Oh, geez. Wow, a Toonses reference. Nice.
My delight in a Toonsense reference is smashed in that it's couched in a Tesla story about autonomy.
Another
Thank
show
you.
title, Tunes the Cat.
Thank you so much for that,
Toons is right.
Mark. Let's go to Tony, who has a story about what Quebec is doing with dams. Just give me the chance to say dam.
Damn it.
Yes, I have a damn Canadian story
Damn it.
Damn
about
Canadians.
damn Quebec. Yeah, okay. So this comes from Philip Barclay, who shared this with me, and he's Canadian, and so he thought that I would find this interesting, and I really do. And so Quebec has a lot of hydroelectric dams, and one thing I did not know, because I've never been to Quebec and I don't study dams, is unlike many of the dams that we think of where you have constantly flowing water, like when you dam a river or a hydroelectric plant that could be on a river that requires constant moving. And Mark, you correct me if I get this incorrect, if I'm wrong, but I got the understanding from this article here that was in cbc.ca that some of the dams in Quebec can hold the water as long as necessary. They don't have to let the water
Yeah,
go.
basically reservoirs.
Yeah, so they're just huge reservoirs of water.
Could call them a battery.
Now, yeah,
Yes,
right. So that's where this comes in. So Quebec does not plan on building any more dams for hydroelectric power, especially because dam building has become much more expensive at this point than just buying wind turbines and putting in solar. But as we all know, and as was pointed out, one of the officials in this CBC article said, people never tire of telling him that the sun doesn't shine at night. Yes, it does. It's just on another part of the world. You need to study your astronomy. But anyway, I don't know what you're teaching them there in Canada, Mark, but the sun doesn't go out, just to be clear.
It goes out in Quebec.
So the thing is, there's battery storage and other forms of energy storage, but of course, Quebec has these huge reservoirs that when renewable energy is running low, they can release some water, turn some turbines, and generate electricity that way. And then as we know, of course, that when there's extra energy in the grid, we can pump the water. So they literally could put the water back into the reservoir for later if necessary. So in that regards, these hydroelectric dams in Quebec are becoming essentially batteries. And it's just another way of looking at some of the existing infrastructure and using it differently as we transition towards a greener infrastructure. I just thought this was a fascinating article
great
because.
Thing about, sorry, you can finish.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like I said, reusing something that already exists instead of just throwing it away, looking at how it can be used moving forward.
Well, and they have thousands and thousands of cubic acres of water that they can just open the valve when they need energy and let it flow into the generators. So
Yeah, that's what we have here in the Northwest. We have Bonneville Power. They have several dams, and then we have wind in the Columbia Gorge. And so they're able to use the hydro to adjust for how much wind is being generated. And there are times at night, especially when they're making too much wind and they have to throw away the surplus wind power. But instead, if they had some method where they could, pump water back up and backfill the dams, that would be even better.
Yeah. So basically, having two reservoirs, one higher, one lower, allows them to run the generator when they need to, and then that water's collected in the lower reservoir. And then at night or during the day, when they have a surplus of energy, they just turn on the pumps and they pump from the lower, push it back into the upper reservoir, and you've got this cycle constantly. And of course, that allows you to have that battery.
Hey, Mark, I heard something on the Tesla podcast, not the Tesla Life, but this is one about the inventor Nikola Tesla, and they said that in Canada, especially Ontario and that area, that the electricity bill isn't referred to by most people. They call it their hydro bill for hydroelectric, and they just shorten it to hydro.
Yep, that's exactly what
The
I
power
thought it
company is the
always
hydro
was.
company. Yeah.
Being based in Ontario myself, I always thought the electric bill was called your hydro bill. That's what it's referred to here in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area.
Right. Even though nowadays only about a third of the electricity is generated that way, it's still just what people have traditionally
What it
called
used
it.
to be. In
Right.
fact, where I live in Waterloo Region, we were one of the first cities to receive electricity from Niagara Falls, which of course is hydroelectric. And that
Right.
is exactly what it was named at that point, and that's exactly what we've been calling our bills from that point forward.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans
And,
are resistant to change.
I grew up in British Columbia, and it's still called BC Hydro. And you say, got my hydro bill to pay.
Oh. That's in
Wow.
BC. So yeah, I assumed it was just like the eastern part of Canada, but I
No,
guess
well,
it's...
BC's actually got buckets of dams in the province, like the Northwest U.S. So I would say probably, and I don't know this for a fact, but just from what I know, how many dams there are in BC, probably 80-90% of electric is actually hydro powered in that province.
Wow.
I'm gonna start calling mine my wind turbine bill.
There you go.
Solar bill, baby.
Turbine bill, yeah.
And speaking of Niagara Falls, Mark, if anybody goes to Niagara Falls, there is a statue on the Canadian side of Nikola Tesla from when he first lit up the power plant in Niagara Falls.
Right, and it's finally in a good spot. They moved it from next to the parking lot to where he's actually looking over the falls. So
Right,
it's
in a
actually,
little park area. Yeah.
yeah, it's in a much better spot now.
Of course,
It's-
Elon's trying to like get his statue put beside it.
Put it next
front
to
of
him. In front of him.
I got nothing. And speaking of I got nothing, let's go to Paul for our last story of the night. Paul,
Yeah,
you have
this is
something
kind of
happy?
a feel good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, in Colorado, like many places, when COVID hit, public transit, they downsized, they cut routes, they cut frequency. And a lot of these, lower income people that relied on public transit couldn't get to work. We call them essential workers. So they did a pilot project where they gave out some e-bikes to people and said, hey, why don't you ride this e-bike? Because you're scared to ride the bus because you might get sick. And turns out people love it, and they're expanding the program. They had 12 people in the trial. Now it's going to 100 e-bikes. And if you're a low-income essential worker, the state of Colorado is going to give you an e-bike, and you can have the freedom to go to the grocery store, go to work. And one of the interesting statistics in the article was the huge amount of everybody's trip in America is under like 7 miles or something. So if you think,
Yeah, I saw that it was like 6. I think it was 6 miles.
So yeah, 3/5 of America's trips are 6 miles or less. So that's going to the grocery store, the post office, the doctor, the school. Think of how many people could use an e-bike to get to those, places. Anyway, one of the participants of this program, she said, in addition to enjoying her e-bike over the last year, because she helps pedal at times, she's lost 70 pounds. So she's getting
Wow.
healthy as well as, traveling green. So it's pretty cool. So they've budgeted for the next phase over $500,000 for 100 e-bikes. So that means they're assuming between the bike, and they come with a helmet and
A lock.
bags, carrier
Yeah.
bags, a lock, and then they need people to administer the program. But that's over $5,000 an e-bike total program costs to do this. But
Stupid Colorado. I hate you more and more every day.
but you know what? I think one transit bus costs about $500,000. So it's good. It's a cool program. So hopefully other states will follow Colorado's lead.
Oh, I'm kind of confused because in your area of Colorado, isn't there quite a bit of snow on certain days?
Not along the Front Range where Denver, Boulder are. I mean, we do get maybe 10 days of snow that would be a challenge a year. But up in the ski resorts, definitely it wouldn't work. But Denver streets are probably dry 350 days a year, and there's lots of sunlight. And nice thing about an e-bike is you could probably get heated handlebar grips put on, and and exercise as you want. So, it's cold here as you think.
My wife and I vacationed out in Boulder a couple of times, visited Boulder Hybrids, and drove a Boulder Hybrid loaner. Thank you, Paul. But of course, we asked the questions about snow and stuff. And Mark, you will be surprised the same way that we were. Bike paths in Boulder get scooped before the streets.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's I think 150 miles of bike paths in Boulder, which isn't a huge place. And the city actually prioritizes cleaning the bike paths when it snows versus the roads because so many people commute by bike year round here.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know, but
brilliant.
That's awesome because I mean I live in what is it? One of those big bike towns, and we don't give away free bikes, much less nice e-bikes. This is an awesome thing to do. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
So are they giving away any of the quad bikes for the disabled folks?
It didn't talk about that, but I'm sure if you made a case for it that you needed that to get around, especially if you relied on a
Bus.
Yeah, exactly, with a wheelchair lift and stuff.
That'd be cool.
So right now,
Yeah,
they're open to proposals from different agencies
Oh.
that can help implement this. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that whoever is, managing this or whoever works on this, I mean, if you make the argument, it just seems like that sort of thing that if you said instead of a two-wheeler, a three-wheeler or a quad, they'd be like, okay.
Very nice.
It's cool.
Well, that's it for this week. And I do want to give you a little heads up. Thanks to Casey Green's help, we're going to be opening up a membership in the show through YouTube very soon, probably later this week. And we'll have stories that are only available to members, review aspects, some outtakes and whatnot. So do look for that. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to youtube.com/whatdrivesus. And if you haven't already, subscribe, but you'll also be able to subscribe at a different, and give us a little bit of money every month and access some
and
special
will Casey
content.
send you a bottle of Tesla tequila?
No, Casey will not. He won't even pour it on a piece of paper and shove that in an envelope and send it to you. Okay, what is it? $500 a bottle, or was it $250?
It was $250 to buy it before tax, and now the empty bottles are selling for anywhere from $600 to $790.
For $40 worth of, arguably a $40 bottle of tequila. Yeah, the bottle selling for a lot doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And,
right? The fact that you could drink it, get all that goodness, and then sell a bottle for more than you bought it for right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yes.
And I can't wait for the bastards are going to be refilling them with tequila-like substance and reselling them. Yeah. There we go.
Not
Yay,
for
a whole
tequila.
cottage.
This is just for color.
It's just a whole cottage industry of fraud. Yay. Yay. Okay, let's do some shout-outs and go home. And I'm going to start with Mr. Casey Green.
Hey, so over on my YouTube channel, Tesla just dumped a bunch of software updates on me, and I've done my best to do quick looks. And I've got an old supercharger review that somehow never made it out of the vault over there. It's up on the web now, so you can find that at youtube.com/CaseyGreen. That's KACEYGREEN. Look for more about the Tesla tequila and a really bad crash that we witnessed in our other Tesla. And you'll see them all on the website.
And you can be a member at Casey's website, too.
Yeah.
And support his stuff and see special content you wouldn't see otherwise. Yay, YouTube
Absolutely,
memberships.
thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Patrick Connor, what's going on in the Pacific Northwest?
Hello, everybody. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and we're doing our meetings all on Zoom, much like this. And we have one tomorrow. So feel free to check it out. Drop in, say hi. And I blog at carswithgorge.net. We talked about my story. Please go check that out and counter Russell's negative article points that he's going to make, because I'm sure he does.
Negative points I'm going to make about what, Patrick? That seems almost offensive.
I noticed you were
About what
very
is,
quiet during this thing. Yeah. So,
It was strictly a matter of not wanting to interject myself into a discussion that was going fine and was taking up a lot of time. You and I could spend an hour talking about that article.
yeah, we could.
Yeah. And maybe that'll appear in our membership only videos.
Ooh.
I think it really should.
Why
You
not?
never know. Well, let's go to Mark Coughlin. Mark Coughlin saying yes, yes, yes. Okay.
I'm with the Waterloo Region Electric Vehicle Association. You can follow us on Twitter at WREVA Group. And also, if you enjoy Tesla content, you can follow our Tesla channel on the Twitter feed of The Tesla Life, as well as our YouTube channel, The Tesla Life Show. So please follow along there, and we will update you throughout the week.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mr. Guzik.
Yo, I'm in Colorado, where they give everybody who comes here a free e-bike. Well,
The bag of
And
weed.
weed.
well, that was a few years ago. Check out our websites, boulderh.com, if you're looking to buy a used hybrid or EV, and occasionally an ICE car that we get in on trade. And if you need your hybrid or EV serviced, boulderhc.com.
As a happy Boulder H car owner, I highly recommend them. Georgia, what's going on in the beautiful Northern California?
Oh, it's actually somewhere around 68 today, so
Ooh.
spring-like weather. A little early though. Yeah. Hey, global warming, how you doing? Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for What Drives Us, and don't forget our friends, Tesla Life, Casey Green. Hit like and subscribe. You want all this good content in your face. Go for it. And also subscribe to us, because we're going to have so much new fun stuff for you on the channel. And with that, tossing it back over to Russell. You guys have a good week.
Thank you so much, Georgia. And Antonio, bring us home, my friend.
Hey everyone. Here in Chicago, it is currently 8 degrees, feels like -3
Oh, Jesus.
That was bad.
Fahrenheit.
8 degrees?
Fahrenheit. Want to make sure. What is that? It's like is that -18?
Yeah,
Crossover.
It's
Something
like,
like
a
that.
chilly 55
Minus 14,
here,
I
okay?
think, is where they're equal.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh, no.
just reminds me, there's a Futurama quote that I love when talks about how cold it gets, and the question is that Fahrenheit or centigrade? And he says, first one, then the other. Okay. So if you want to read all the news that we're reading, make sure you check us out online. First of all, you can find us on Facebook and like our page at facebook.com/whatdrivesus, where throughout the day and the week, articles mysteriously get posted by someone named Buffer. I have no idea how that happens. You can leave a comment, suggest new news, or just like the page. If you use Flipboard as an aggregator, make sure you look for the What Drives Us magazine. And there you will find other articles that just magically appear and just thrown out
Oh,
there.
I just looked it up. It's -40 where they're equal. That's a little different than -14.
40 and 40.
There's
It's
a
the same.
4 in there.
Yeah. Either way, you need a coat.
Yikes.
Yeah. Also, I don't know where you got this episode. If you're watching it on YouTube, then yes, I know where you got this episode. But if you're listening to the audio, you could have found us on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes. If you just stumbled upon it, please make sure you subscribe. Shout out to all of our audio subscribers. We should be getting caught up. There was a bit of a backlog, so they were being released every 2 days in order to get caught up, and I think we're getting caught up now. So
Yeah, I appreciate you
Um,
spreading them out like that, not just dumping them all. So that, yeah,
Oh.
thank you.
yeah, I kind of felt bad just putting out like 15 of them in one day. So spaced them out, and unfortunately, that's about to come to an end because you're going to get them once a week. Like
It'll be on
the
real
good old
time, baby.
days.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. And thanks to Tony, who does a lot of hard work behind the scenes, hours and hours of hard work, like making those audio things happen. If you listen to the show in your car, thank Tony Schaefer, not me. I have nothing to do with
Say
that.
it out loud every time.
Yes. Thank
Roll
you,
down your
Tony
window
Schaefer.
and scream,
Thank you, Tony Schaefer.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's a little extreme. All of a sudden, that got weird. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy his music anywhere you like, except for CD Baby, because fuck CD Baby. I want to thank my wonderful panel, Paul Guzik, Tony Schaefer, Georgia McKenzie, Mark Coughlin, Casey Green, and Patrick Connor. And you know what? Even though I've known these people and worked with them for years, I still read their names off the screen like I never met them before. That is a host confession that you didn't ask for, you probably don't need. And hey, if you sign up for a YouTube membership on the What Drives Us channel, you might get more of that kind of crap.
Next week.
Am
I'm
I
changing
selling
my
this or
tag.
not? Maybe I'm not doing a good job.
I think
You're going to learn truly how
anti-selling it.
incompetent we are behind the scenes. We'll let you know all those dirty secrets.
Oh, absolutely. You want to know all the dirt. What's going on? Who hates who? Why?
Why hasn't Danny been here in years?
Right. We're just, you know what?
Danny who?
I'm going to do an hour just talking trash about Danny Cooper. just talking shit about a host that hasn't been on the show in years.
He was on within a year.
Was he on in the last year?
One.
He was in
One
I don't
show.
know. It
When?
might have been him. It might have been somebody else. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Like, I don't know. It feels like he hasn't been on in a couple of years, but I forget. Anyways, thanks to this wonderful panel for a great show. Thanks to all of you who view and or listen to the show. You're the reason we're here. So thanks very much. Do subscribe on YouTube. Do check out our membership stuff when that rolls out in the next couple of days. And maybe, be a member for $1.99 a month, okay? We appreciate it. And we're not going to spend the money on hookers and blow because
We don't need
$1.99.
Why not?
And as George has said, you can support our Russell Frost, keep him in food and housing for a month for just $1.99 a month.
See
Or you
that?
can,
This
or you can
poor-
give it to me and keep me in tiaras.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I feel like I need to go out and buy a tiara for Georgia right now. And if that doesn't motivate you, what kind of soulless zombie are you? Well, you're not a soulless zombie because you're watching this show. Thank you so much. I don't know what else to say other than download us next week and find out what drives us. Uh-oh. There we go.
Oh, you got it. Come on, Ron.
No, just,
Cue.
No
touch
more
screen
drugs
device.
for you. No hookers until you get it right.
Stay positive, test negative.
Hey,
Bye, y'all.
have a great week, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Stay safe.